Hey everybody, I thought I would do a poll, and I put this up a few days ago because I've switched my programming a little bit. I have traditionally done, for a very, very, very long time, I've done mostly upper lower. I did do kind of a push-pull legs type setup for just a little while for people who forgot about that. I didn't do it a long time, but I did run it, and I've done that for a lot of clients. But since I've gone over to, for me, basically a body part split, which really I would call it push-pull arms, legs, right? Would be how we define it. But I put that in a body part split. I wanted to see kind of what my general audience does. And what's interesting, this is exactly what I would expect with my audience bias. The biggest one being upper lower. Why? Because I have often promoted general strength training. And you'll see a lot of generic hypertrophy programs do tend to be upper lower 4 days, right? Most really serious templates, not saying all programs, but templates for strength tend to be upper lowers. The classic ones being conjugate, which is something that I have historically promoted for a long time. And I still have clients who run conjugate, people who are kind of like, hey Jason, why'd you go away from conjugate? Do you not like conjugate? I have clients on conjugate right now. I have had conjugate clients from day one. Okay, so for 5 years since I've been open to the coaching to my actual channel, because I was always doing a little bit of coaching on the side anyways, I just wasn't making a big deal of it. But 5 years ago when I started really opening up to my followers, what did we do? I had people on conjugate from day one. I have never had a single month where I did not have some clients on conjugate. So I do need to be clear there when that comes up. And it's usually upper lower, the exceptions being 3-day conjugate, which is still upper lower, we just spread it out. And I would say by and large, the majority of my clients run upper lower, whether it's 3 days or 4 days a week. That's usually what most of my clients are doing. I've done push-pull legs for clients. I don't ever I actually have one guy on full body right now, so I don't want to say I never run full body. I do have someone on full body. Okay, I do push-pull legs, and I've not programmed true body part splits for anyone. But let's look at this distribution a little bit. It's almost an even distribution, as someone pointed out. Now the other would be to wear all sorts of weird stuff. I mean, fat would technically be another. Although we could almost make the case for that could be, I don't know, a body part split sort of, but not really. Most bodybuilders are running a body part split, but here's the thing. Isn't push-pull legs kind of a bodybuilder bro split? It really is. So what I've really done is pulled it out separately because of the sheer popularity of it these days. Right? Particularly on social media, push-pull legs, whether it's done 3 days or 6 days a week, has become extremely popular. It's very popular. And it's kind of old school. It is still an old school type split, because 3-day-a-week push-pull legs, I knew people doing it 25 years ago, like Jack's dudes. Like it's always been a fairly common, for at least all of my life, it's been a fairly common split. Bro splits tend to be the most common though. But really when you look at those, they're both technically body part splits. Like I would classify what I do now still as a body part, even though it's push, pull, arms, legs. It's body part split. So when you add those together, that really is an even distribution, because that really comes to 31% as true splits. Okay, so we're seeing 28% full body. Now, given that most novices run full body, if they should be generally, usually a good idea. I build everyone's base on that. That's how I've always programmed. All the free programs I have for novices tend to be full body, right? It makes sense. It works for building a little bit of a base. But I always tell them, look, if you're going to care about how you look, if you're going to do full body, you should probably throw some curls in. I have curls in my full body free programs. Okay, let's be realistic. They neglect arms, right? Biceps get neglected on those sort of programs. They really do. So that's not a surprise to see it taking about a third, right? upper lower having the biggest bias, because if you add up the splits, they come to 31%. Given I have a very large number of more advanced followers, some people have pointed that out, given how long my channel's been up, the topics that I cover, they're not always as novice friendly, which probably limits my outreach to a large extent. I should work on that. I need to do more novice stuff, I really do. But, because they're the biggest, they're 95% of people who lift are going to be novices at any given time, right? That it's not a surprise you do see a heavy amount of splits and stuff in there. Okay, no surprise. And I'll be curious to see if I continue to do a body part split, because I did upper lower and that seems to be my biggest thing. And is it because that's what I'm doing as far as my followers? Or is it because that's generally what most strength templates are built on? I'm not sure which of the two. So for me, it'll be kind of a curious experiment to see, let me see if I run a body part split for a while. What if I do get the good results on it? How many people are going to switch to that? And I think particularly given that I am branching out more towards a lot of aesthetic stuff, really strength aesthetics. Because at the end of the day, I always tell people, look, even if I'm going to train with an aesthetics bias and as a primary, which I'm kind of switched to, we're never going to not do the big three. We're never going to take all heavy lifting out, because there's no excuse to be weak. And I know people don't like to hear that. They don't like to hear that, do they? That's its own topic. There is no compromise to be made. Unless you are in the upper echelons of high-level bodybuilding, you are losing no real gains by saying, hey, I'm going to be strong on these big movements. And the thing that people need to remember, okay, the best bodybuilders may not be the best world-class powerlifters, but they're all strong. And I see that misnomer in there too. You know, people are like, well, bodybuilders aren't strong unless you have them max out. Right? Anyone who's well-developed top to bottom, you give me any top 10 Mr. Olympia competitor and let me put them on a power program for 6 weeks, and I promise you they will have an elite total. Guaranteed 100% chance, unless they have injuries preventing the lifts. Okay, so that's also nonsense, this idea that they're not going to be strong. But I tell that to people, though. There's no excuse to not be strong. It's ridiculous. You're only making a trade-off when you are at that highest level. Same thing for guys who want to power lift. Okay? There's no reason to not look decent. There's absolutely no reason. You might be making a small trade-off at the highest levels, but look how many elite world-level powerlifters still have good physiques. Quite a few do. So just pointing that out to everyone. But in any event, I'm going to be curious to see how this breakdown changes as my training has changed. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.